What's up, the world? It's your friendly neighborhood Slipgator here, and this is a video response for CNNers Don't Worry, Be Happy video. You know, I'm 35 years old, I don't drink, I don't smoke, and I weigh 170 pounds, and that'll make sense here in a minute, but, you know, a lot of times, I've really always thought that watching CNNers was great because he's very wise beyond his years, and I've actually got some great advice, and I've come away from some of these nannery advice videos feeling like really good and pumped and good. And I watched this video and I just was kind of like, wow, no. I think that a lot of the things that he said were generally, good advice. Like, trying to have a positive attitude is very good. That is true, but I think some of it came across in a way that I just don't think was great, and that was, maybe it was just for me, maybe it was just me, but I don't know, we'll see. But yes, everyone you meet is a mirror of yourself, so generally being a positive person and reflecting, putting forth your positive energy and reflecting other people's positive energy back to them is going to be a good thing for you in life. People, you know, Nanners was right, people don't like Oscar the Grouch, they don't. And I get Oscar the Grouchy sometimes, I think everybody does. You know, that's just normal. But I think kind of the general overtone of the don't worry, be happy, and that is what you need to kind of do to be happy is not necessarily the greatest advice. And saying things like, you know, the world is just something that happens around you, I just think that that's wrong. I don't think that's correct. You know, there are things that just happen around you. Like, if you're driving down the street and a plane crashes on your car, like, that just happens around you. You don't have any control over that. You are a spectator in that event, absolutely. But you can, on your desk right now, touch your mouse, type something. You're interacting with your universe. And therefore, you have some semblance of control. You have a bit of control over what goes on, and especially what goes on, what you do, and, you know, you have some control over that, and you have some control over what other people do as well. You know, if you go up to somebody and you punch them, they're probably going to get angry at you, and you might be in a fight. That's control that you have over other people. You did that. You interacted with that person in such a way that you caused a reaction from them, and you had control over that because you didn't have to punch them in the face. So, you know, you have some control over what goes on, and you know, for a long time personally in my life, I tried to just kind of don't worry and be happy, and I didn't really plan for the future, and I didn't really try as hard as I could try to you know, make my life the best life that it could be. And you know, CNN has also said that kind of life is short in a roundabout way, and it is, and that's always kind of meant something different for me than I think it means for other people. And you know, people are like, you know, you should bungee jump, life is short. Well, doesn't that mean that you should really not bungee jump because then you won't die because life is short and you only have the one life? But no, I mean, experience your life, and yes, bungee jump, you know, bungee jump is safe, but I guess my point is that you only kind of have the one life, so I think that it's important that you focus on making the best out of the one life that you have, and really trying to be the best person you can be. Kind of being like a samurai, you know, modern day samurai in your life. Hone your craft, practice, try to be the best person you can be. And at the beginning of the video I said that I'm 35, I'm 170 pounds. I'm 5'10", by the way. And I don't drink and I don't smoke. 5 years ago that wasn't the case. 5 years ago, I was 30, I was still 5'10", I weighed 230 pounds, and I drank and I smoked. And my life was a lot different. I was living in my parents' basement, and I didn't have a job. That was kind of the end of a lot of different life choices and things that had led up to that point. I mean, I didn't always live in my parents' basement. I moved out of my house when I was 19 and lived on my own from the time that I was just out of high school until I was about 30. And, you know, I kind of just lived life in a don't worry, be happy mode. Like, I just was kind of, you know, let's do it, man. Whatever happens, happens. And a lot of that was like, basically ended up being party time. And so we did a lot of, you know, I did a lot of really fun stuff and had a lot of fun interactions with people, and that was all great. But kind of what it ended up being is, it was a series of events that led up to me being unemployed, drinking my unemployment checks in my parents' basement. And so you have to be mindful that you have a certain amount of responsibility to yourself to try to make good choices and interact with your environment to create the best series of events that you can create. And I think it's important to understand that worrying is a defense mechanism that your mind has. There's probably a part of your mind that's smarter than you are. It kind of knows. Sometimes you make bad choices. It knows you shouldn't. And I think that most people know what that feels like. You know, it's like, should I have that other hot dog? Probably not, but I'm gonna. So it's things like that you know, your mind has a defense mechanism that's worry, and it helps you to be better. And that's what helped me, you know, listening to that little inner voice that said, you can't do this anymore, man. And worrying about my future and worrying about who I was becoming, you know, that was a good thing, because the next part of worry is action and taking action. So I took action and began a healthy life change experience where I started to eat better, I started to exercise, I stopped drinking, I stopped smoking. And it only took about 18 months. Maybe, yeah, it was about 18 months, and I dropped 75 or 70-ish pounds. I was down to 155 at one point, but I was a little bit of an over-exerciser. Yeah, you know, I took action. It was good that I worried, and I took action based on my thoughts, and it changed my life. And I think that that's kind of an important thing to understand, too. And I struggle every day with continuing to exercise, trying to stay positive. Life is something that happens around you, but I don't know. It's always gonna be tough. It's not easy for everybody. And I think that a big thing about not being an Oscar the Grouch is to understand that it's the toughness of life that makes it rewarding. So, yeah, I guess I think that makes sense. I hope that it does, but those are kind of my thoughts in this video response, and I hope that it wasn't as much of a... I don't want it to be a rant as much as it just is kind of like my back and forth to the thoughts that Cena had. So, yeah, leave a comment, hit the like button if you liked it, and yeah, subscribe if you want to see more videos, and have a great rest of your day.